It seemed that the group had been sent in to deal with SCP-3844 on behalf of Italian officials.
Alright, Lester's beard's bugging me, bro. I didn't think it would be annoying me this much, but it's legit covering like 40% of his face. What is going on? Like, yo.
Later, in the void.
What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy, and welcome back to the Savvy Show. And in today's episode, hopefully, this is going to be a juicy one because this is going to be about a dragon, guys. Yes, a dragon. I'm surprised I haven't covered a lot of dragon-type SCPs. However, today we're going to be diving deep into one. This is SCP-3844, to slay a dragon. So let's see if it's about someone actually slaying a dragon or the tale of the dragon itself. Hopefully it's the latter because I want to see, you know, how this became an SCP or like how the SCP Foundation actually contained this dragon, if they actually did. This would be cool to find out. Also, that would be kind of cool if the Dragon Slayer makes a cameo in this, man. I'm excited for that one. And if you guys forgot about that one, I covered it on a later date. That SCP is basically like an SD Gundam and it takes on kaijus. It's crazy. Like, it's pretty badass. So you should check it out. I already reacted to it on the channel, so you could go find it there. But anyway, yeah, I'm excited for this one. If you guys are excited as well and you do enjoy this reaction along the way, please remember to smash that like button for the kid, and also remember to smash that bell and hit that sub button, because I'm telling you, if you enjoy SCP content and you like my reaction style, this is the best place to be to get your dose of SCP heat. And it's free, guys, so come on, have fun with the kid. So with that being said, there's nothing left to be said, man. Let's get this show started. Alrighty, SCP-3844, to slay a dragon. Lego.
From the myths of the Middle Ages to fantasy novels to popular television shows with horrible last seasons, there is one mystical creature that has stood the test of time again and again. For almost as long as human beings have gathered together and shared stories, the imaginations of countless generations have been captivated by the same image. An enormous winged reptile soaring through the skies, sometimes depicted as a wise, noble creature, and other times feared as it breathes fire down upon its foes. For as long as there have been people to tell them, there have always been tales of dragons, be they benevolent or monstrous. But these are just stories, aren't they? But surely a legend does not survive for so many centuries without a reason. And with all the other myths and ancient folklore that the SCP Foundation has found to be true, who's to say that there aren't still dragons somewhere up the mountains?
Gotta be.
SCP-3844 was one such creature.
At least in this
universe. First discovered in 1906, a creature exactly like the legends described was found to be living in the Dolomites, a mountain range located in northeastern Italy. One of the first to see it was a man named Dr. Lester Fegmont, and he recounted his findings to a friend, Frederick, in a letter that the SCP Foundation keeps on file. This document is one of the first recorded sightings of SCP-3844, having spotted something that they instantly recognized as a dragon. Lester, his associate Galveston, and a guide traversed the slopes of the Dolomite Mountains to find where the creature had one peak, let out a low roar that loosened the snow from the mountainside and then dived out of sight.
Wow.
Its wings blocked out the sun like a cloud passing overhead. I wish the whole lab could have seen it. After 2 hours, the group...
So I don't think the dragon saw Lester, because if that was the case, he wouldn't be here telling the tale. So let's keep it pushing. Lester got lucky though.
Arrived at the dragon's cavern. From the way Lester described it, the place was like the lair of Smaug. The dragon famously featured a jail much on deeper into the mountain than the supplies they'd brought with them would allow them to explore. But there was no sign of the creature they had seen flying overhead. Giving up on their search, the group began to leave the treasure-filled cave, preparing to head back down out of the mountains the way they had come. But then, they heard the roar. Still in the dragon's lair, Lester had no idea if the sound had come from in front or behind, until they saw the creature outside of the cave's entrance. Lester was terrified, but then he realized
Where's your friends?
The dragon wasn't trying to threaten the men. He was trying to welcome the intrepid trio as its guests. SCP-3844 apparently spoke very eloquently to the group, sounding like quite the gentleman according to Lester. It seemed to possess some sort of shape-shifting ability, as the letter described the creature changed its form to resemble a young man to make us feel more relaxed.
What the heck?
The dragon referred to the group as a new age of knights, and seemed to be very up to speed on the current affairs of 1906.
This might just be a shapeshifter. It might not even be a dragon. Like, well, it could shapeshift into a dragon, but he might just be a regular person that could shapeshift into different creatures. Like, what the heck?
What followed was a lengthy negotiation between Lester and SCP-3844. agreeing on terms that would keep the dragon confined to the Dolomite mountain range and away from the prying eyes of the public. It seemed that the group had been sent in to deal with SCP-3844 on behalf of Italian officials.
Alright, Lester's beard's bugging me, bro. I didn't think it would be annoying me this much, but it's legit covering like 40% of his face. What is going on? Like, yo.
In his letter, Lester mentioned his uncertainty in placing his trust in the creature, hoping not to be double-crossed, and transcribed the conditions that were agreed upon. The dragon, whose name was apparently Tharnrock, but also was referred to as the Anomaly, was to limit the amount of times it ventured out of its cave to only once per day, and keep its flights within the area of the Dolomites. Tharnrock was also advised to refrain from roaring or vocalizing whenever it left its lair.
Damn.
In return, Lester and his Anomaly Investigation Foundation would send an ambassador to confer with the dragon once a week, and punish anyone who attempted to steal any valuable artifacts from the creature's hoard of treasure.
Sheesh.
Lastly, the nation of Italy swore to encourage its citizens to avoid traveling to the Dolomite Mountains, and would publicly discredit any eyewitness reports, denying Tharnrock's existence. Many years passed, and Dr. Lester Fegmont rose through the ranks of the SCP Foundation, eventually becoming known as O5-2,
What?
a member of the infamous O5 Council.
I feel like everyone's becoming a member, bro. Like, Lester, this dude, he's part of the O5 Council. For real, learn something new every day.
SCP-3844 was kept confined to the same area within the Dolomites, but the methods of keeping it there began to change. The Foundation set up a perimeter around the area, keeping civilians from entry. They installed anti-aircraft artillery near the cave where Tharnrock was first found. Researchers were sent in to study the creature, taking temperature and radiation readings, testing SCP-3844's IQ, and providing it with magazines on science, nature,
And within his own home, because usually when SCPs are, hard to contain in the site, they will build a site around the said SCP. But in this, they're just like visiting him and suppose he's contained because they made a deal. Unique. You don't see that every day.
The Foundation learned that SCP-3844, much like the dragons of legend, was able to breathe fire. Or more accurately, the beast could expel a vapor of methane from its mouth,
Whoa.
and ignite this gas via unknown means.
Oh, wow.
Tharnrock could speak at least 7 languages, and claimed it could mimic the form of any human. The contents of the dragon's lair was estimated to be worth almost 13.4 million United States dollars, and it was learned that SCP-3844 would burrow underneath the treasure when it slept.
I thought it would be at least billions, bro. That's a lot of gold.
If those traits sound familiar, that's because they are all reoccurring ideas that feature in the various legends of dragons from throughout the ages. In fact, SCP-3844 claimed to have been the inspiration behind many European myths that revolved around dragons. It even asserted that it had been the model for the Welsh flag, which depicts a red dragon in its center. From time to time, O5-2 would still visit his old friend SCP-3844 for chats in the dragon's cave. During one of their conversations, the dragon and O5-2 discussed some of the many scientific advancements human beings had made over the years, which SCP-3844 learned about through the reading material it had been provided.
Wow.
How long had you known about the nature of light? SCP-3844 asked, to which Dr. Fegmont replied, decades at least. The dragon also asked about what it called the inner workings of our smallest building block, and O5-2 explained that mankind had split the atom during the Second World War. SCP-3844 then asked if science could explain his kind, expressing a longing to stretch his wings again and leave the confines of his cave. O5-2 denied the dragon's request, claiming that advancements in radar technology posed a potential risk to SCP-3844 if it was allowed to take flight again. He offered to at least find a way to make the dragon's home bigger and more comfortable again, which they would, but only one final time. When they met for O5-4's request, the dragon was surprised to see that Lester was still alive after so many years, and hadn't succumbed to old age and death the way most humans do.
Because he got that immortality, he probably drank from the Fountain of Youth or something.
The doctor explained that as a member of the O5 Council, he was kept in pristine condition through thaumaturgy and temporal technology. The dragon described it as magic, and O5-2 argued that everything in the world can be explained with science if one examines for long enough. SCP-3844 agreed, although appeared defeated by this admission. It asked Lester to explain what he thought the stars to be, and the doctor naturally gave a scientific answer. Balls of flaming gas. If you want me to be more specific, I could list their chemical components. The dragon was already aware of this thanks to its reading material, but then asked, "Do you know what a duke once told me many, many years ago when I asked him the same thing? He said, they're little lights from the heavens." His voice spoke with awe, much like yours when we first met. At first, O5-2 thought that the creature was grieving over the advancements humanity had made in science, and how it allowed them to better understand the world. But SCP-3844 grieved for the death of spectacle, the death of the belief in miracles. "I wish I could embrace science, but it takes away so much of what I enjoy about this world of ours," the beast lamented, before adding, "It appears I'm allergic to the stuff." Learning about the world around it in such detail had robbed SCP-3844 of its enjoyment of the world. Knowing everything could be explained by and reduced to science saddened the dragon, losing the wonder that comes from not knowing all the answers.
Wow, that makes sense.
With a heavy heart, the ancient creature proclaimed that it wanted to break the agreement it had made with Dr. Fegmont all those years ago.
Dang.
O5-2 tried to argue with the beast, to convince the dragon to stay in its
I want to know how many years it's been.
Thunderrock had not felt the wind beneath its wings in over 100 years.
Oh, there we go.
To be with others of his kind.
Oh,
You
left.
seem quite confident, O5-2 remarked when the dragon announced its intention to once again fly freely. "Confidence is all I have left. I don't want to believe that the world doesn't need its whimsy anymore." Containment procedures. SCP-3844 was neutralized, shot down by the anti-aircraft guns that were positioned around its cavern. The ancient noble creature was no more.
Killed it just like
for
that?
wanting to be free, for longing to believe the world could still be a place filled with wonder.
Wow, he should have dipped. I would have literally flew away after seeing the tank, bro. Like, yo, damn, you just got one-shotted.
Curiously, the remains of the dragon that the SCP Foundation recovered seem to, in actual fact, be those of a Draco volans, a non-anomalous species of lizard colloquially known as the convected every 72 hours for any signs of anomalous activity.
72
but
hours?
somehow, through means still inexplicable to the Foundation, the entrance to the cave seemed to disappear almost entirely. The area where SCP-3844 had been found and was then kept prisoner no longer contained a cavern.
You should have took all that money before it closed up.
Behind it, dragons. Ever since the death of Tharnok, the designation of SCP-3844 has been reassigned to a collection of large winged reptiles that reside deep within a number of mountains all over the world. The SCP Foundation received multiple confirmed reports of these creatures living in the Himalayas, the Rockies, the Appalachian. SCP-3844 had been discovered all the way back in 1906.
Oh, dang, that's
Being
been
the
a
most
while.
familiar with Tharnok, O5-2 was assigned to investigate the sudden slain, killed by the Foundation for wanting nothing more than to be free in a world
Pretty
of
messed
wonder
up.
and intrigue. However, one thing seemed clear. He was not the only one of his kind. Rest assured, and don't mourn too much for Tharnok. There are still dragons living in the mountains. Now go check out SCP-1762.
Based by Captain Kirby. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Well, oh, there's another dragon one, SCP-1762, where the dragons went. Huh, I'm gonna have to do that soon when I come back on my vacation. But yeah, with that being said, guys, this ends the reaction. And also, if you didn't know, all of these videos, they're going to be scheduled in the future because I'll be on vacation. I'm leaving today. So yeah, you'll probably see it later in the future. But with that being said, if you guys did enjoy this reaction, please let me know by smashing that like button. Also smash the sub button and hit that bell so you can stay plugged for each and every upload. Like, come on now, join the family. And also let me know if you were fond of this SCP. To me, it was like, you know, nothing too crazy, to be honest. It was cool that it's a dragon, but look, you guys on the next one.